The other thing that happened, I guess, as I started working in this area, and that's still kind of going on, is, and it's the purpose of waivers, so people don't go into institutions. And that's still going on, and it's been effective. And if you look at the numbers, you know, the institutional bias in 1990 was 90% institution, 10% home and community. Now it's almost 60% institution, 40% home and community. That's a big change. That's billions of dollars. Look at the numbers served. Obviously, a lot of people have stayed out of institutions. There are arguments about whether they would have really gone in and so on. And the other thing, again, is I really wish those numbers had grown like that because everybody believed in liberty and independent living, but I don't really think it's true. I think it started becoming an industry and people saw a lot of money, and why can't I make some of it? And the other thing that happened is people want to leave. People want to move out, and that's a big deal now. Who's worthy and who isn't, and how are this going to happen, and how are we going to get in? And we still don't have a system in my state. We don't have any funding. We don't get any support. It's just a mess. And starting way back, the first big one I remember, and it was that NPR thing that Joe Shapiro did and all, was we just went in there and met someone that we'd heard about, and she, I think she had muscular dystrophy, and she had 2 kids, and what had happened is this. Her family had invited her to visit into Lawrence, Kansas, and she was in Oklahoma. And when she came up to visit with her kids, they basically made a complaint that she, was in need of supervision, and she was in danger. And so the state came in, Adult Protective Services, and determined that, in fact, she was a person with a disability in danger, and they imposed a guardianship and stuck her in a nursing home, and her kids went to foster care. And so we heard about this. We started working to get her out. Well, she was, back then even, she was too disabled to qualify for the waiver because there were cost caps. So she's in this nursing home. Her kids are in foster care. God knows what that's costing. But in a weird way, she couldn't get out on the waiver because she needed too much stuff, and so on and so forth. And so we just basically got a bunch of friends together and a pickup truck and a van and went in there and moved her out and loaded her stuff in the pickup. We passed the hat around, got enough money to pay first month's deposit and rent on actually a 2-bedroom HUD house, like pretty rare. And out she went. And it was a pretty big deal. We held our Medicaid secretary hostage to get her to approve the plan and all these things. And it was interesting, and people go, wow, that's really, exciting or whatever. And the problem is it's still happening today. While I was here, my staff called me. They got the same situation in Wichita, Kansas, only it's people that also have mental health disabilities. They have physical disabilities, but also mental health. And so the physical gets them in, and the mental health keeps them in. It's a real interesting thing. If it was just physical, could get out now, probably with a lot of work, but now it's the mental health stuff. My staff are told, oh, she's got a guardian. Well, we find out really it's not a guardianship, it's a durable power of attorney. It has no bearing. Then the individual calls and says, they're trying to change my medication and I'm scared. What should I do? And we're like, God, we don't want to give medical advice. I mean, my staff are like me. We're not doctors, whatever. So we can't be going around telling people, take this drug, don't take it. But at the same time, is it pretty scary thinking, they're going to dope this person up and then use that as a reason, behind the fact to not move out? Yeah. So the same thing is still happening. It's been a long time, and we really need to address this because based on liberty, this makes no sense. The costs don't make any sense. And it's really a frustrating and sad thing to have to do that. And it's not an issue of a program or anything else. It's just about freedom. And speaking of the industry, as last night's, it kind of came up, some of my friends were razzing me, I'm a service provider. My agency does, and we work on all the waivers in our state. We serve a lot of people. We've got a budget and whatever. And the point is that the reason that we did this was freedom. And I hope that as these networks grow and we think about it, that we impose that. If you don't believe in freedom, you shouldn't be doing this stuff. And why can't we make a rule about that? And that's why we got into it, because in our state, when they first started allowing self-direction, there was no provider in the state that would do it. So we did it for that reason. Then a lot of people started coming, and it got big. Well, so we can use the money to pay for advocacy. That's why I can come to DC. That's how we pay for ADAPT stuff. That's how we pay for my staff to be helping these folks in Wichita right now, because there is no program. And so that ought to be a part of our thinking, and about what we're going to do and what we believe in. And I'll just say some things into the future. And so again, we've made a lot of progress and a lot of cool stuff has happened, but we are still really stuck in the mud. And I think unless we can really deal with this issue and get behind that people have freedom and get away from rights and professions and allowing and all of that, we're going to be telling these same stories in another 15 or 20 years. But there might be more jobs and more money for professionals to allow people to do things. The thing I just kind of want to say at the end is I look kind of at the future and kind of this range. Young people going to school with disabilities, they're getting their free appropriate education. And one of the things that we're noticing there is that there's wide variation, of course, state by state within states. But one of the things that I'm seeing is that the young people, they're not getting educated about living with a disability, not getting help figuring out how to find, manage, recruit, train attendants. They're not finding out about self-help. It's actually with adults too. You know, in the old days, you used to spend 6 months a year in rehab, and now it's like you don't even get your staples out and they're booting you out the door. But with young people, that stuff really needs to happen, because this is a big deal. And we've got kids that are coming out of school and don't have any idea about finding, managing an attendant, how to make that work, and so on. And that's a huge problem, because what are you going to do? And so now you have young people, and as they begin to graduate, they get signed up for a guardian, they go to the group home and the sheltered workshop, and that's a total waste of everything. And so then you become an adult who doesn't have these skills and who's going to have to be allowed by someone for the rest of their life and managed and stuff. And it's kind of suspicious how that circle's working. And the same thing again, I talked about aging, is when you turn 65 or whatever, and this whole aging industry, I mean, what is up with that? And, you know, I know a lot of aging people, and they self-direct, and they do these kinds of things. And, I mean, I'll just tell you another story. We had someone way out in the country, didn't have indoor plumbing, you know, outhouse and all of that. And this guy got determined to be in danger for those reasons. God, you're, you know, really old, had some physical disabilities, didn't have running water, didn't have a toilet, whatever. The state wanted to come in. That's dangerous. You need to go away. And when we found out about it, we just asked, you know, well, are you going to put water in? Are you going to put the toilet in? Well, no, we can't do that under our program. And it's just like, well, leave him alone. I mean, the guy has lived like this for 90 years on his farm. You know, I mean, he knows more about it than you do. Unless you're going to fix the problem, you know, let the guy go and just help him there. And so we got that done, again, because we were able to do that. And it was happenstance. And I think a lot of things are going on around the country, again, by happenstance, and not because we're really there yet with programs. So that's pretty much my wrap on personal assistance and where things have started and kind of where we're heading. And I just hope we can all work together really based on liberty interests and not because of programs, professions, and who's making money and all of that, because that's not what this is all about. Thank you.